Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, General Hospital. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Today on General Hospital, Lucas asks Felicia for advice, Anna listens to Jason's concerns about Britt, and Dante gets intel from Danny about Dalton and the career. Christina arrives at the Metro Court pool expecting to meet Cody, only to run into Dante. They chit-chat, and Dante is fixated on Gio and Emma, who are across the deck. Christina suggests they invite Gio over, but Dante doesn't want to interfere in his work. Soon, Marco arrives and grabs a chair, and Christina decides to talk with him. Christina approaches Marco, and when he takes his glasses off, she sees his face and asks what happened. Marco gives her the same story he did the cops about having an accident the morning of his mom's memorial. They discuss his mother, and Christina says Natalia was complicated, but she'll always be thankful for what she did for her and her father. Christina fills Marco in on her accident last summer, which Natalia and Ali witnessed, and everything that unfolded. She made some big mistakes, and Natalia stepped up for her when she didn't have to. Christina is grateful to his mom and to him for saving her life. However, given what happened that night, does he regret stopping to save her? Dalton arrives and grabs a chair, and Emma plans to make her move on him. Gio warns she's presenting a stalker vibe, but Emma says she's a naturally friendly person, and she'll call in backup. Meanwhile, Dante questions Danny, shows him a photo of Greta from the airport surveillance, and asks if he's seen her before. Danny says she was here, and Joss said she was a good tipper, and indeed she tipped him $50. Dante asks him about what Joss was doing. He believes she was working for her professor and points Dalton out to him. Dante asks Danny to tell him everything he recalls from that day. Danny fills him in, including that the woman had a backpack that didn't seem to match her fancy style. Dante thanks him, seeing he reminds him of his mom, who always noticed the little details. Emma approaches Dalton to return his flip-flop, which Outback stole. As she sucks up to him, Dante watches them interact. Emma lets Dalton know that if there is too much work for Joss to handle at any point, she's happy to help. Jason drops by Anna's place. He needs her to tell him what he saw isn't just in his head. They discuss how Britt died via Heather the Hook, and he tells her that, according to Obrecht, Britt was cremated. Her mother was surprised, as she expected Britt to want to donate her body for Huntington's research. Jason tells her that he checked with the funeral home that cremated Britt, and while they gave Obrecht her ashes, they have no record of the date of her cremation. Anna asks if he thinks Britt faked her death. Jason fills Anna in on seeing Britt in Paris, and he's not saying she wasn't poisoned, but her body seemed to have disappeared from the funeral home. He suggests maybe she was given an antidote and is alive. Anna knows him, and if he says he saw her, then Britt could still be alive. Anna wonders if Obrecht could have helped Britt fake her death, but Jason feels Obrecht's grief while talking to her was real. Anna says Britt might not have needed help staging her death, as her father was a master at staging his death. Jason asks her to help him figure this out, as she knows these people better than anyone. Anna won't go looking for Britt, and advises him not to either. Anna explains that Britt's symptoms were advancing rapidly at the end, and if she faked her death, it was so her loved ones didn't have to watch her succumb to the disease. By seeking her out, he wouldn't be honoring her wishes, so he has to leave Britt alone. At the hospital, Lucas flags down Felicia to ask about his mom. He inquires how Bobby learned to coexist with Sonny. Felicia says Bobby tolerated Sonny at best for Carly's sake. Lucas has in the past too, but now he can't look the other way after what Sonny did to Marco. He knows Marco wants to just move on, but he feels it's wrong that Sonny gets away with these things. Felicia explains Bobby couldn't cut Sonny out completely because Carly was married to him and loved him. She also points out Sonny has done a lot of good over the years, but Lucas says it doesn't erase the bad things. Lucas thinks he might let Carly live her life and take a step back from her, allowing him to live his own. She fills him in on Carly accusing him of being infatuated with Marco and blind to the bigger picture. He was so angry he moved out. Felicia says good for him, and his relationship with Marco is worth fighting over. However, Sonny is not worth arguing about. He doesn't know how to stop Sonny from driving a wedge between him and his sister. Felicia tells him to do what Bobby did and refuse to let Sonny do that. Felicia says Bobby wouldn't want Lucas to sacrifice his relationship with Marco, but wouldn't want him to lose Carly by forcing her to choose between him and Sonny. Felicia says your mom learned that after Barbara Jean died, the thing you can't sacrifice is time with the people you love. In Alexis's office, Sonny shows up as the lawyer asked him to stop by. She wants to know why he kidnapped Marco and is dragging her and Christina into his war with Sidwell. He thought perhaps Alexis had called him over to apologize. She asks, for what? He says, I didn't set that fire, Sidwell did. So I did not put our daughter in danger as she claimed. Alexis is unhappy with his actions, as Christina appears to be following in Sonny's footsteps given her recent behavior. Sonny asks her what behavior she is speaking of. She simply says Christina needs to learn to be less impulsive. He tells Alexis to have faith, saying her daughter is much stronger than she gives her credit for. Alexis prays he's right. In Jack's office, he informs Joss and Vaughn that he's pulled them off the Dalton investigation as the professor is no longer the primary target. He explains they tracked Courier to the Five Poppies resort and they need eyes on what's going on there, so that's where he's sending them. Jack wants them to gather as much information as possible about the resort, its employees, and the recipients of the data. He instructs them not to attempt to steal the data or engage with the targets. He says this will be a 2-week operation and they'll be posing as a newlywed couple. Joss thinks if she quits her job with Dalton, he'll be suspicious. Jack doubts it, as she wouldn't be the first flaky undergrad, and he'll replace her. Joss fears he'll give the job to Emma, who doesn't know what she's getting into. Jack says he'll take care of Anna and her granddaughter, and Joss needs to come up with a reason to head to Europe. Joss has a distant relative there whom she can claim she's visiting. At the Five Poppies resort, Britt answers her door to a man. She wants her car brought around to hit the town for dinner, but he tells her that she's not going anywhere. The man enters her room. Britt tells him that she has processed all the data she has. She can do nothing else right now. He explains there are concerns about her driving after her accident and injuring a poor donkey, which limped until the day it died thanks to her. Britt explains the accident was over 2 years ago. She had just arrived and had just been given her medication. She hadn't gotten used to driving over here as well. Now she says she's perfectly capable of driving. She flashes back to speeding out of Port Charles with Jason, who also had issues with her driving. She asks Pascal to have someone drive her if he's so concerned. Pascal tells her, given her medical condition, he thinks it's best she stays on the property. Britt rants that this isn't about her driving or her health, and that he's just pissed that she took that trip to Paris. She asks what she's supposed to do, stay in her room until Greta brings her more data? Pascal says he'll relay her message to him, and will have food sent over to her from the restaurant in town she wanted to go to. In her office, Alexis gets a call from her assistant, Suzanne, who tells her that Ava has arrived for her appointment. Should she show her in? At the pool, Christina mentions to Marco that she knows people think her dad had something to do with his mom's death. Marco hasn't made up his mind about Sonny yet. She insists he would never hurt Natalia. Lucas appears at the pool and runs into Sonny, who is there as Donna has a swim lesson. Lucas sees Christina with Marco and wonders if his other daughter knows what he did to Marco. Sonny doesn't believe she has heard of his allegations. Ignoring his conversation with Felicia, he taunts him, maybe someone should tell her. Sonny tells him to do what he has to do and walks off. Dante drops by Anna's to bring her up to speed on what he's learned. He fills her in on everything Danny told him, and it's clear Dalton handed off the backpack to Greta at the pool, which Joss later slipped a tracker in. He also warns her that Emma was at the pool tonight and was glued to Dalton's side. Back at the pool, Gio warns Emma that if she keeps offering to help Dalton, then he'll suspect something is up. She doubts it, and that he'll see her as the same overeager student from his class. While he's lecturing tomorrow, she's going to break into his lab. Gio points out that if overeager Emma skips his lecture, then Dalton might grow suspicious, so he'll search the lab for her. In his office, Jack gives Joss, Vaughn their fake wedding rings and sets them up with new identities. He says they'll leave Port Charles separately and then meet in NYC to travel to Croatia together. Vaughn leaves them, and Jack tells Joss that it's critical she sells this cover at the Five Poppies resort. Everyone must believe they are totally in love. Over in Croatia, Pascal calls Jason and introduces himself as the hotel manager of the Five Poppies resort. He was following up about his inquiry about booking a stay. As they speak, Britt barges into Pascal's office, yelling at him to give her car keys. Jason clearly recognizes Britt's voice.